What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today is a very special video. Now, of course, today is my very I guess my first ever big giant sculpted project that I've ever done. Like, this takes the cake. All right, so of course today is we're going to be I'm going to be showing you guys the Lego Kung Fu Panda figures that I made. Now, of course, the last video that I made was literally just Kung Fu Panda. And of course, I've said in that video, hey, would it be nice to maybe get this many likes on this video? Of course, that didn't happen. I kind of predicted that it wasn't going to happen, just because I think it wasn't going to happen and it was a big thing to ask for. So, of course, I knew I was going to make them eventually. So, of course, you guys are going to see some of the same figures that you guys saw in the original, like Po, Shifu, Oogway, and Shen. However, I think two of them are different. And yeah, of course, make sure to chillax right now, and let's get started. So first off, we got to start off with the main character of this the movies. We have Po, and Po is actually slightly different. He's a little bit the same as the original, just a little bit though. He's not all the same. If you guys, here's the original one right here, and here is the one, the one that you guys see here. And the one thing that I did add is very small. I did add a little bit of a belly, and I feel like I needed to sculpt a belly on Po a while ago, but I decided not to and just go against it. Which I think was kind of, I guess, a little bit of a bad decision to do, because I really wanted him to have a belly in the original, but I didn't. And also one other thing too is it's very hard to notice is that there was a little gap between his head under here. So if I take his head off, actually, so you guys can see, there was a bit of a gap right here. So I actually covered that up. You can actually see right there. And of course, the face, the likeness, everything, I think I did a great job. And it proves my point that this was a great head sculpt from the beginning. Because I actually did sculpt a new head sculpt for him, but I didn't use it. Anyway, also, since these are some customs, they do have wraparound printing. There is nothing on the back. The back is the same. I kind of did sand off the back so I could keep it I guess, more like it is in the movies. Now, his head in the movies is basically just a round circle. However, I did decide to make a new head sculpt for him, and I think when I was sculpting it, I thought this was probably going to be great, and then I put it on, and I was like, this is the worst head sculpt I've ever done. So here is Po, and it might work. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know down below what you guys think of this head sculpt. I think it's okay. If this was my first head sculpt, then it'd be cool, but I know like a lot of him is unfinished, like his eyes and stuff like that, because I wasn't going to make this head. But compared to this head, we all know what the definitive winner is, so make sure always sometimes the original is always the best. So that is it for Po. He's really cool and probably one of my favorite figures that I've ever made. Also, once again, if you guys haven't seen this, his shoes do wrap around, which I'm going to say this straight up right now, and I'm going to mention it maybe on a couple figures. Everybody in this whole film franchise, if you guys see this same type of shoe design, the shoe designs that you guys are going to see are not this highly detailed. This one was probably the best shoe design I was probably ever going to make for this. But everybody has the same shoe design if I was making it for every single one, which I technically kind of did. I didn't add this brown line at the bottom though. So some characters, literally all of them, I think Shifu, the original two actually, Shifu and Po, both have this same design, but the rest just have the flesh with their fur sticking out underneath. You guys will see later. But that is it for Po, probably one of my favorite sculpted figures I've ever made, just because even though how simple he is, he's still one of my favorites. So that is Po. Next up, we have one of my, another updated version of the original. We actually have Master Shifu, and he is kind of different to the original. Of course, one of the things that I wish I could change, but just from my pieces and stuff like that, I don't have any dark orange. His outfit in the movie, I wish I could use it. But once again, I still have to use the same outfit. So if I do in the future, then I will make a new version of him. But his head is almost the same. If I put a photo right here of the original, the one thing that you guys can notice is that the ears. The ears is the major thing that I updated on this dude. I made his ears bigger because that was one of Shifu's defining features on this guy. And I think I made the perfect head sculpt. I was going to make a new one for him. It was going to be probably a little bit more accurate. But I decided not to because just look at the head sculpt and the painting as well. I think I knocked it out of the park with this dude, even though he had that weird eye issue that I mentioned in the original. Anyway, he is a very amazing custom. Once again, you guys have seen this whole guy before, but as usual, he does have his shoes more, I guess, a bit more messier than Poe's, but it's alright. Anyway, he has his tail like in the original. I could have sculpted a new version of his tail if I wanted to. But once again, I might make a new version of him in the future. Also, he does have his mustache and all that good stuff. And then also he has his nose underneath. So that is it for Master Shifu, one of my favorites. And he turned out really cool. Next up, this figure has not changed at all from the original, but we still will go over him since this is a Kung Fu Panda showcase. We have Master Oogway. And I was going to update this dude originally. I was going to add some new stuff to him. Of course, if you guys haven't gone over this dude yet, he has his amazing staff. And once again, in the movie, if you guys haven't seen Kung Fu Panda 1, which, what are you guys doing? Go watch that movie. Shifu, of course, Master Oogway ascends off so Po can fill his destiny and make Shifu the new master. So he basically gives his stick to Shifu. So if you wanted to, you could give him this staff because he does have this in the second movie. Which, since this is Oogway's staff and not Shifu's, I could, and I actually added this feature, you could paint this gold if you wanted to make it in the future movies. However, once again, this is for Oogway, not Shifu, because I have an Oogway, and Oogway has not ascended, because he's a custom. I decided to just leave it the normal brown, because Tai Lung hasn't broken it yet, so yeah, it's just the normal version. Anyway, getting his staff out of the way. This is my first ever, I guess, super glued figure that I made. This was actually some crazy things that I broke for this dude. One of his things is that he was the first ever figure to use cloth elements, which I don't think I've used that for anybody else to this day. But also, he has his whole body. I don't have any pictures of his sculpt because I actually posted this dude on Instagram like in December. And of course, this guy... I don't have any photos, but if I did, everything on this dude is glued together, basically. You cannot take his legs off. You cannot take his head off or his shell. The only things that are movable are the arms, his hands, and his legs. And I do like his paint job. I think his paint job actually holds up really well today. But one of the things that if I do revisit this dude will be... to basically get flesh pieces, and then paint the tan dots on it like in the movie. This is kind of the lazy method where like in animation and stuff like that, if you see some of the other things that Oogway is in, you know that he doesn't have all his scales that he has on in the movie. Anyway, his face I think I did really good originally. This dude still holds up today, and once again he has the cloth elements right here and here. And you do see a little bit of his shell underneath, which is kind of painted on there a little good. I don't know, I'd kind of repaint that if I could. But that is it for Shifu. Shifu. That is it for Oogway. And then he also does have a tail at the bottom, which I think is really cool. So that is it for Oogway. Probably one of my favorites. And he looks really good next to Shifu. So those are the original three. Now, we are going to take a look at the fourth character later. However, we are going to continue on the heroes right now, and we're going to go into the next category, which is going to be basically the Furious 5. So without further ado, let's start off with the first figure that I made, which is Tigress. Tigress was the first figure I made for this new bunch of characters, probably because she was the easiest. I mean, I know I was going into a big challenge because all their heads were going to be sculpted. I knew that thing from the get-go, and everybody has done that already for them. But anyway, this head sculpt was really hard to do. And the way that I did a lot of these guys' head sculpts is actually look at 3D models of the actual characters and base it as close as I did. Basically the same method that I did for Beavis and Butthead. I basically looked at 3D models and made them based on the 3D models. So that's why their heads are really good. That's why they turn out really cool, because that's how I make my sculpted heads. Anyway, this head was made on a cylinder, I think, right? Cylinder? Yeah, most of these guys use cylinder heads. But of course, I was able to make a good sculpt. And if you guys want to see pictures, here you go. It's really cool and awesome. But yeah, there her head is. Pretty cool, of course. I guess kind of removing it right now so you can take a look at the amazing torso print. Get rid of that piece of paint at the top. But of course, I did paint all this detail on. If you do move her arms up, some of the detail does go on the side as well. It kind of has, I think, scraped off a little bit because her arms go down on it. But yeah, it's really cool. I like it a lot. She does have her little markings that she has to match her face. And then also she does have her tail, which I did paint the stripes all the way around on it. And then also, if you move her legs a little bit forward, she does also have her boots painted on the inside, which is really cool. Once again, like I said with Poe, she does not have the brown line at the bottom or whatever that she should have, but it's fine. I had to paint like 6 of these things. So anyway, there she is. Her head is probably the most unique part. So if I actually put that back on the figure, her head was very fun to do. All the little markings that she has on it. She's supposed to have 2 black markings here, but with this tiny head, I don't think I would have been able to do that. So I just did 1. It's not that noticeable anyway. If you look at the back of the head, it's also really cool. I love this head sculpt. From certain angles though, like right here, like some certain angles, it kind of does look weird, but it does look like Tigress. And when she stands next to Poe, she does look really cool. So yeah, that is it for Tigress. I know her head is probably huge, but who cares? So yeah, that's it for her. Next character we're going to take a look at is actually the 3rd character I made, because yeah, we'll take a look at the 2nd later. But here, yeah, of course, one of the hardest characters to make right here, Monkey. His head, I think, took me, out of all the characters in this whole showcase, his head took me about 3 tries to make because of one thing that Sculpty is known for doing. First off, here's this picture of the head sculpt before it was painted. Anyway, really cool. I sanded it because Monkey, I feel like, was going to be probably one of the worst heads that I made for all of these dudes, all these characters, because of course this head is very unique in the movie, as you guys saw photos a couple seconds ago. Anyway, removing his stick because he does have it sometimes in the movie, but he has on the McDonald's toys, which I kind of based a little bit of the paint job off of that. But anyway, I love his face. His face turned out incredible. One of the things about him is this right here, this little thing right here. So he actually is one of the characters that use a minifigure head. So he used a minifigure head, sculpted around it, and I actually had to sculpt a lip under here that would go on top of the torso because it would have been the best way to capture his face in the movie. However, if you guys deal with Sculpty and you know that if you want to put it on here without a gap on, you do know that it does get stuck to the torso. So I did ruin some torsos making these figures, which does suck. But as you guys can see, it goes on here cleanly and you have no gap. And I love that about this dude. Anyway, he has the back of his head is pretty cool. He has a sculpted tail, which turned out really awesome, and his gold belt that he has in the movie. And his tan little things. I did add a bit of a water. I added the tannish paint on here, the flesh paint. It's the same paint that I used for the flesh minifigures. And of course, one of the things about this dude is that I did the flesh paints and I went over and dipped my paintbrush in water and then basically did it again to give it kind of like the fur effect that he has in the movie. And of course, he has mid legs because he's not as short as Shifu in the movie. So I just decided to give all the figures mid legs. And I just love his face. His face turned out incredible, and I love how it turned out. I'm so happy. This dude was honestly probably one of my favorite painted faces. I just love how I was able to capture it. And yeah, he's really awesome. I love Monkey a lot, and that is it for Monkey. So the next character in the Furious 5 was actually the 2nd character I made, which is probably the one that you guys are probably all here for. Some of you guys are here for. I have the smallest character I've ever sculpted we have Mantis, and this dude uses no glue. And he uses just Sculpey, so if we actually zoom in on him, you probably won't be able to pick this up on the camera, but I do have a photo on the front of the screen right now. This dude was a pain to make, but I am so happy he was the second figure I made because I thought it was going to be the hardest. Now, if you guys are looking at photos here, you probably see, oh, why is there gray under the green and stuff like that? Ugh. Well, it's because if you take a look at him, and we'll use Poe as our test dummy right here, you can see he is so tiny, and in real life, I mean, I think I actually have a photo of him on my hand. He is very small, and I am so happy I was able to do this. So the way I did this is I sculpted a body and basically put some legs on it and sculpted it, left it alone to dry. So then the next day I had this weird spider thing and Shifu for size comparison next to it. And then after that, I took basically I sculpted all the detail that you guys see here because I needed him to stand so I could basically, because if I did it all in one day, one of the things would break or something like that. Which of course, while I was sculpting his face and everything, some stuff did break, but yeah, I really love how he turned out. And so far he's holding up really well, which I love a lot, and I'm very happy that he's able to. He is top heavy though, so you do have to kind of be careful with him, but if you want a Mantis that's much bigger than this, well, here you go. Here's Mantis, and yeah, he's much bigger. This is the one from the McDonald's toy from like years ago that I got. I can't believe I still have this thing actually, but I got him for reference later. But anyway, he is very small. I'm so happy what I was able to accomplish with him. And I think I was able to capture his look in the movie, even though he decides to fall over every time, because he's really light, and he's really cool. So anyway, there is Mantis, very cool. I love how he turned out, and now we're gonna take a look at the. So yeah, now we're gonna take a look at the next character in the Furious 5, the last character, and this is a. Oh wait, actually no. We actually do have two more members left, so yeah, first... So now we're going to take a look at the next character in the Furious 5, which is, of course, the Snake herself, Viper. Now, Viper was actually very easy to make. Probably the easiest that you'll ever see in this whole video, just because it's a snake, alright guys? So all I did was just take, once again, here's the Sculpey photo. Once again, I just took a stud underneath, and just sculpted a body, then sculpted a head, sculpted some eyes. There you go, that's it. That was it for her. Probably the hardest part was the paint job, but still the paint job was fun to do because I was able to actually capture some of the logos that she has on the back of her tail in the movie. I really do love how this turned out, and I know it's a bit messy, but it turned out really awesome. Which one of the things that I actually used a weird color choice for her, I actually used bronze, or actually, I have the paint right here. I used copper, and I was just going to use another color, but someone recommended to me to use copper, and I was like, I'm going to see how it turns out. If it doesn't turn out good, then whatever. But it turned out amazing. Like, it gave the effect of the snake really well, and I feel like if I would have went for any other color, I feel like it wouldn't have worked. So, yeah, anyway... Very awesome, as you guys can see. You can put her on a stud. I actually do have a minifigure base right here, so we can test it out. But you have to put her on a minifigure base because she is just, her whole body won't fit on a normal thing. But as you guys can see, she does fit on a stud. But if there's a stud in front, her neck is going to get all weird and stuff like that. So it mostly just fits on one singular stud, which is very cool. But taking that off, she does have her, once again, the same flesh paint that I use. Really cool. I like that a lot. And her face, I feel like I did a perfect job of capturing her likeness. But yeah, she's really cool. Anyway, tail on the back is painted in black. Anyway, that's it for her. And she turned out really cool. So that is it for Viper. The next character we're going to take a look at is probably the one that we're stepping into territory of non-size accuracy. And I know if you take a look at Poe and you take a look at Shifu, Shifu should be way shorter, but like in the Lego sets with Rocket Raccoon. It's just not possible to do that with a Lego minifigure. So, of course, one of the things of the characters who's actually supposed to be the same size as Tigress, but decided to turn it into a whole foot taller than her, we have is Crane. So here is Crane, and like I said with Tigress, he is just really big. He is very big, and I don't think I would have been able to capture this much playability with that small of a scale. So if you actually move it back a little bit, you can see that here's Crane, and he turned out cool. He turned out honestly really awesome. Probably one of my favorites and the most unique out of all the characters because he doesn't use a minifigure body. Once again, let's bring Tigress in here again. He has a lot of playability with him, like Shen. Actually, him and Shen both have the same playability, which are actually able to move his joints like a Lego, I guess. So you can make him flap up and down, which, fun fact, actually, I sculpted his wings, and if you actually look on the back, his wings on the back are much more detailed than the front because I actually had to create these little dots all over. But one of the hard things about this dude is that I sculpted, I think it was this wing, and I sculpted it twice. So I didn't mirror it on the other side, so I had to basically destroy that sculpt while it was already drying, and then had to make a new one. And yeah, it was very time consuming to do this. And then if you look at the back, all of the little feathers that are on the back, which you're not even going to be looking at them from the back, so I don't know why I did that. But it still turned out really cool. Also, so you can move his arms up and down. His head can go side to side, so you can look this way or look this way. Really awesome. And then also you can move his legs like this, and you can also twist him at the ankles as well. But I do got him in a good position, so I don't want to mess up his feet. But now for the sculpted things, his arms are removable. You can remove them since they are just on clips, which if you can't tell what clip they are, they're actually these clips. So I actually used these clips in white and then used another two in black, painted those in blue, sculpted these on, and then sculpted a body. I don't think I have a photo. If I do, I'll put it up here. But I use the same pieces that I use for Shen, which is basically these little ones right here, shaved off the top of the studs and then sculpted on the bottom of a skeleton. Yes, his legs are actually used by a skeleton. And then put some clips at the bottom, then some bars with some studs on holes, which are not removable. And then also he does have some toes down here, which I did sculpt, and those turned out really cool. A couple toes did fall off though, but I was able to sculpt them back on, which is really cool. But his head is really cool. He just has the white eyes with the hat on top and then just the beak. Very simple. With my bird characters, I do not paint a facial expression for them just because I think it would look weird. I think it'd look all right, but I just didn't want to do it for Crane, and he turned out really cool. So yeah, that is it for Crane, and that is it for the Furious 5. However, we do have one more character that is technically a hero. This one was kind of random if you see my teaser for this, but I decided to make Mr. Ping, and Mr. Ping takes the size to a whole new level. Because if you look at Mr. Ping and you look at Poe, he just is too big, okay? He is just way too big. Mr. Ping is probably my least favorite character that I made out of this whole video, just because of how inaccurate he is. If you're a hardcore fan, you'll know who this is, but if you are not, you will not know who this is. Just because of how big he is, it really just, his head is just massive, but I do love the sculpted work that I did for him. Once again, Mr. Ping is probably my least favorite. So, sculpted things first. Actually, I do have a picture of what he looked like. So here he is before sculpted, and he turned out actually really cool. So anyway, I painted the eyes, painted the beak, painted the white underneath. I did paint the body, all that. Also did paint on the arms as well. And then also did paint his little skirt thing that he has in the movie, as well as sculpting a tail, even though I could use a duck tail, but I decided not to. And then also I did give him gray feet, which actually, this is Procreate. This is the original color. I didn't paint over this at all. which was very interesting, but the gray turned out really cool and very solid. Because usually sometimes it has some white pieces or something in there, but it turned out really awesome. I didn't have to paint that. However, I did paint the neck gray because it was kind of all weird and stuff like that. So also he does have his chopsticks up here. Doesn't look like chopsticks, looks like a stick. Anyway, he also does have his little dumpling things up there or whatever. And he turned out really cool. Now, there are some accessories that I would have given him, but I actually decided to put in a bonus character instead. And I'm so happy of how this bonus character turned out. I decided to make Baby Po from Kung Fu Panda. So of course, like I said, of course, if you guys know me, I'm not going to put everything in the teaser. There are going to be some surprises still, more in the video. You guys have to wait till the end to see all the surprises. But of course, I did decide to make Baby Po from the movie. However, I also did make some other accessories that just didn't make the cuts. One of the things that I did make for him is actually, I don't think I can find it right now. I don't know where it went, but I was going to give him a bowl of noodles. The bowl of noodles actually didn't turn out good at all. And I also did give him some chopsticks. Those didn't turn out good as well. So yeah, a lot of things didn't turn out that good. I think I'll have a photo of what the noodles look like because yeah, I didn't like the noodles at all. They didn't turn out good because of course the thing was actually too small, the cup. So yeah, anyway, if we actually put Mr. Ping back here and take a look at Baby Po, this is kind of an upgraded version. I did upgrade him a little bit before the video actually came out. But if we take a look at him next to Po, they kind of do have the same look to them, which I think is really cool. But anyway, his body is basically a cylinder with a stud. I don't have any photos of him sculpted either because he was a bonus character. So he can actually fit on, if we bring in that base plate that I had, he does fit on a stud, which is really cool. If you can, I think you can, right? Yeah, there you go. So you can fit on a stud, which is really awesome. I'm surprised Lego hasn't made a baby panda themselves. I think they made like a little bear that was made in a panda. Yeah, they made this piece, but a baby. Oops, yeah, the cape on him. But yeah, they made this piece, but the same color as a panda, but I feel like they should make their own piece like this. And of course, Mr. Ping can hold him. However, since you can't move his legs and get him into a better spot to hold him, he falls over. So yeah, anyway, let's see if we can actually stand him up. I don't think we can though. But yeah, he does look really cool next to him like that. And I really do like this accessory. And I think Baby Po turned out actually really good. So there is Baby Po. So now we're going to take a look at the villains now. So those are all the heroes. Now we're going to take a look at the villains, starting off with the first one we have, and this is probably everyone's favorite villain from the Kung Fu Panda, and probably DreamWorks a whole. We have Tai Lung, and Tai Lung was very fun to make, but his head is so strange. He has like this weird, if you guys see his head right here, he has like this weird type of head where he kind of has a cutout of his face on top of like a weird cylinder kind of. I don't know what you would call it, but I feel like I captured it the best of my ability. I think it turned out really cool. And yeah, his head turned out actually really cool. Of course, there are some photos right here, what he looked like. Once again, it was kind of altered a little bit to make it look more like this. But I'm very proud of his head sculpt. So what I did for Tai Lung is actually, if you see all over this dude has black dots with tan dots on top of it. So I basically just did that. Put a bunch of dots all over him and then filled him with tan dots on top of that. Then I did his shoes as well, like he has in the movies, that do go all the way around, which is really cool. And he does have the his arm printing as well. I was going to put some dots on the side, but I didn't. I did actually continue the stuff on the side of the torso. He can move his head, which is really cool, and of course, you can put Po in here as well, and they just look really awesome together. So, yeah, this is just awesome. I feel like Lego should totally make Kung Fu Panda if I was able to make them this easily. And I'm basically doing Lego's job by now. So if they actually wanted to make Kung Fu Panda, they should actually watch this video. Anyways, eyes and everything turned out awesome. I love this head sculpt. It turned out really cool. Also, you can barely see it, but I did also paint some dots underneath his head, which that turned out really cool as well. So there is Tai Lung. I think he was the third figure. Oh yeah, I actually made him the third and Monkey the fourth. So yeah, I wanted to switch it up a little bit and not all work on the Fierce 5 all at once. But yeah, there he is. Next up we have is, of course, going to be Kung Fu Panda 2 villain. We have is Lord Shen, and this is the same as you guys saw him last time. This was the newest video that I made on him. But of course, once again, if you guys haven't seen that video and you guys just want to stay here and watch the video, then here you go. So of course, first off, what I did for this dude is I took his weapon is basically just a black staff. I think I have a ton of these actually just sitting around. I don't know where I put them, but I do have a lot of these sitting around that I was able to use one of these pieces for. So I basically took it, sculpted on his little things right here, and his little sword at the top, which is kind of pokey because is kind of sharp. I just shaved down the sides so I could get it all nice and painted it in silver, which turned out really awesome. So there's his staff. Of course, he can use it, and he has it more in the movie. But yeah, Lord Shen is really cool. I mean, I should back up the camera a little bit so you can see him better. But Lord Shen, he has a really cool play feature. So first off, before we do that, his face. So what I did for him is I took a cylinder, then put some Sculpey on it, and then basically just kind of got it in this shape. Then made his beak, and originally here are some photos of what he looked like with his sculpt. Originally what I did is I actually had his mustache go all the way down, but I cut it off and it broke off, so I sculpted two new ones, re-sculpted his eyebrows because they got all messed up and stuff, and basically just did that. So his head is really cool. It can move, very nice, and it's actually kind of loose, which I really do like. So yeah, you're able to move his head. He's probably the most detailed figure I made for this bunch of characters. And next up, he does use the same thing that the Pavati twins used in the advent calendar, which is basically taking a brick and a plate at the bottom. So what I did is I just took a brick and then put a plate at the bottom of that, like this, so he would be as tall as mid-leg. So he's as tall as Uwe. So yeah, basically this design right here. Put some Sculpey all over, so I could put this little flap right here, which is the second character I used with cloth. And you're able to actually move his, you're able to actually adjust this and stuff. So of course, if you guys can see back here, he does have a play feature, so you can move his tail upwards, which what I did actually is sculpt on the sides and then basically just stuck these clips in the sides, so you were able to actually move his tail up like this, and you can get him in this nice position, which is really cool, which the cloth piece also moves up as well, which I really like. So anyway, if we go on the back as well, he does have all of his details that he has in the movie. Just a fantastic looking design for him. And of course, he cannot stand like this, which does suck, but yeah, he does fall over. But one of the things is this dude actually used a Lego piece on him. Of course, I did also sculpt his toes. But he actually uses this fin piece back here. And I actually do have the piece this time. So yeah, I actually do have the piece. I went to get it right now. Here's the piece that I used for this dude. You guys might be wondering, holy cannoli, how did you use this piece or something? So I was actually cutting some yellow bars out of here. And one of these pieces actually, like I think one of these pieces, I don't know which one I used though. But one of these pieces actually fell off. And I needed a yellow bar, that's why. And I found it, and it was in the same shape as his fin. So I was like, done, stuck it on there, and sculpted on the side, painted on the sides, and there you go, that was it. And he turned out very good. I am super happy on how Shen turned out. And he's one of my favorites. And I decided to make him before Tai Lung because I just think that he's much more of an interesting character design and villain. If you've seen him in Kung Fu Panda 2, he is threatening. Like, he is probably the best, and probably Kung Fu Panda 2 is my favorite movie, like right next to Spider-Verse, I think. It's really good. You should watch. It's better than the original, all right? It feels more sad and darker. It's not what a kid's movie should be. It should be all happy and go looking, but no, it's not. It's sad and depressing. So yeah, you should watch Kung Fu Panda too. Anyway, next figure, which is the final figure that we have, the final figure that I made actually, is of course Kai from Kung Fu Panda 3. Now, he was very tough. He was probably the toughest character that I made for this whole video, just because of how weird of a guy he is. Now, of course, if we take Po, they are basically the same size. However, Kai is the tallest character, because I actually did look up sizes for all of these dudes, so I could get them at the exact sizes, kind of. He is the tallest character ever in the Kung Fu Panda movies. Not in Lego, of course, but he looks really cool next to Po, and he was very fun to make. So for Kai, the first thing is that his head is removable. I'm not going to remove it right now because it is just a big piece, and it's very big. All right, guys, it's very huge. So I don't think I'll be able to. If I can, then I'll try to actually right now if I can. Oh, actually, here we go. There we go. So here's his head. Here's his whole head sculpt. It's very huge and big. But yeah, he was very fun to do. And I love how his head turned out. So what I did is I just took a Lego minifigure head. Basically just took a shaved off him as well. I also do have a photo of what he looked like complete right here. Oof, this dude was very pain to do. But anyway, I did sculpt all his hairs, and I know it might look messy all back here and stuff like that, but his hairs are messy in the movie. But yeah, I was able to do that, so I did that. Painted his eyes on, then painted his mouth, and then his horns right here. I know they're not all spiky and weird like in the movie, but I was running out of Sculpty. Like, I'm out of Sculpty right now, so it's going to be a while before you guys see some random minifigure customs. So yeah, I basically did that, and it turned out really cool. So there's his head. Really awesome. Anyway, here is his body, and very cool. If we take out his sword, his little, I don't know what you would call them, his little swords that he has in the movie. But if we take them out for now so we can take a look at his actual character design. He has the belly sculpted on there, which is really cool. He also does have his sculpted arms as well, just to add a little bit of bulk to him. I was going to sculpt on some of the van braces that I put on Monkey right here. On him, I was going to put some Sculpty on him, but I decided to put on Kai instead because he just needs the bulkiness that he has in the movie, and he turned out really cool. So also, if you see on the front, I actually took, so he has a bunch of little, like, basically little pieces of chain on here. So what I did is I just cut up a bunch of chain pieces and just put it all over him. I actually do have a piece of chain right here. So yeah, I basically cut these things in half and put it all over him. So he has like 2 on the sides to hold chi. So he does have his little chi things. That was my favorite. I wanted to paint the detail, but it was too stressful, and yes, I just didn't do it. Also, his legs, I sanded them so they would be in a unique shape, more different than Po and stuff. And he is able to move his legs and stuff like that, kind of. He doesn't have painted on the flesh on the inside of his legs because I couldn't get to them in time. And I didn't paint these on until after, so yeah. Anyway, he is taller than Po because I did put some plates at the bottom in black. I think that turned out really cool. So yeah, of course you can see it on the back a little bit if I remove his chains. You can see that, and he does have a little bit of wear down here, so this was chipping. It does break, so I am happy that I was able to fix it with these plates and just put Sculpty in there so the feet wouldn't be falling off all the time. Sculpted a tail on him. He doesn't have that much back torso printing because it's just, once again, man, he is just a very complex guy, and he's supposed to actually have hair all over the back, but he doesn't. And this actually gets a really cool look at his chains. So his chains are basically just fused in here like in the movie, and you are able to move his chains like this and stuff like that. And his little things are actually kind of very simple. I basically just took a sword, cut off the top, and then just put Sculpey on it. And let me actually put his head back on here. But yeah, his head, as you guys can see, oof, his head is huge. And yeah, it was just a very crazy custom figure to paint. And I know he's supposed to have hair all back here, but I didn't have time to do that. And once again, I was running out of Sculpey. So that is it for him. And yeah, of course, once again, the chains just connect back here. They just look really awesome. And yeah, he's a very complex character. Once again, he's not my favorite character I made. I think he's decent, but he's not my favorite. And he's not my favorite character either, I don't think, because I don't like him in the movies. I think in the movie he's okay. Kung Fu Panda 3 is probably my least favorite. I just like it more because Mr. Ping is really good in it. That's the only reason why I like it. And I do like Po's dad a lot. I think it's... But yeah, I like him a lot in the movie. I think that's the reason why Kung Fu Panda 3 holds up. Because you get to see more of the side characters like Ping and all that stuff. And I like Kung Fu Panda 3 for that. But the Chi too, the Chi and stuff like that is awesome. But yeah, mostly I like it for Mr. Ping and other stuff too. So that is it for Kai, and that is it for this video. And of course, you thought this video was over? That was it? No, man, no. There's still so much more we're gonna do in this video. So of course, I decided to make one more bonus custom, and this is actually custom outfit. So this is actually based on a character, and this is the other thing that I liked about Kung Fu Panda 3. This is the Dragon Warrior version of Po, and it's very hard to get shots of this dude and all this outfit and stuff like that, but this is amazing. Okay, this is one of my favorites. This is my definitive Po. I still do love my other Po too, and they still do look really awesome next to each other. I just like this one a lot more. And yeah, his head was very interesting to make. So one of the things that I had to do with this dude is I actually had to remake an old head sculpt. And I do have the original Po head sculpt right here. The OG one, before it was painted. And what I had to do with this dude is basically recreate this head sculpt to the perfect of my ability. And I think I was able to do it really well. I know it's a bit strange, like the sides are a bit puffier than this dude. But I mean, what I was working with, I haven't made this head sculpt since December. And I actually made another head sculpt for Po for this showcase. He was going to have a new head sculpt, but it didn't turn out good at all. So I scrapped this idea and just went with this new head sculpt. And I actually based the baby panda off of that head sculpt. So yeah, he had to go through some modifications. Anyway, taking a look at his staff later, because I know this is probably the best part about this whole figure. He was very fun to make. So if we so yeah, of course, this head sculpt turned out really cool. It's very hard to see his eyes, but one of the things that I was very happy when I found it was his hat. His hat is actually a different version of this hat. This is actually Garmadon's hat from the CMF series or whatever. I don't know. But what I did is I took that, sculpted a bit on the side, and basically made all of this nice stuff that you see on here, and the little tip at the top and his ears. And I was very happy when I painted this. I was like, this is gonna work, because I wanted to use this piece again for this dude, but I wasn't able to find it in my collection. I think I only had two. One of them was on the Daily Bugle and the other one was on that one. I didn't want to screw up the Daily Bugle, so I went with that. And yeah, the face turned out really cool. Tried to match it to the original, but it didn't work out that well. I kind of went for a frown as well, so there's that. Anyway, his belly is sculpted as well, and he also does have his sash, which is also continues on the side, which is really awesome. And his feet have the detail that they have, which is really cool. And he also does have his gold van braces. And one of the things that I had to do for this dude is I had to make his arms a bit thicker, because his outfit is black and white, and it kind of just looks like Po's naked. So yeah, anyway, I had to sculpt on the sides and stuff like that. I think it turned out really cool, but you're still able to move his arms up and down. However, you cannot move his legs that much. His legs are kind of stuck in place. I mean, you can kind of get it at this angle, but also his feet aren't painted on the inside either. So yeah, anyway, taking the head off so you can take a look at it again. His head is really awesome. I like how that turned out. And taking a look at his cape is actually one of the one-hole capes, but I didn't worry about this happening because it is basically a hard kind of plastic now because of the painting and stuff like that. So I basically painted this 4 coats of gold and was able to get it, and I think it turned out really cool. The back doesn't have really any detail because it's covered up by the cape. And yeah, probably my favorite version of Poe. So yeah, that is it for Poe. But one of the things that you guys are probably wanting to see with this dude is his staff. So here's his staff, and one of the things that was hard about his staff is in the movie, his full-on, this dot right here, this is the yin-yang symbol. His dot is actually levitating and not connected to anything. However, that is impossible to do unless you're some type of magician. That is impossible to do, so what I decided to do is decide to put it on top of the hole, which I basically just, once again, just stuck a toothpick through and stuck it all the way through and made that hole, and it turned out really awesome, and painted it gold and then gave it to him as his accessory. And this turned out exceptionally good, and this whole showcase really turned out amazing. And these will still probably go down in history as probably one of the biggest sculpted showcases that I've gone and done in a long time. So yeah, that is going to be it for today's video. And of course, we're going to close out now. So yeah, that is it for Poe and the final character. And I'm not jinxing you guys this time. This is actually the final character of this whole showcase. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, making these figures was very fun to do. I loved making every single one. Some of my least favorites are probably the ones that are non-size accurate, like Crane, and of course Mr. Mr. Ping is probably my least favorite because of his size. But everyone else turned out exceptionally good, and I love all of these customs a lot. And yeah, of course, this will be all of the Kung Fu Panda, so you probably will never see them again. Maybe see them maybe in the future. But for now, these are it. These are done. Yeah, that is it. Of course, as always, leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, and bye.